Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Di, and today I'm sharing with you my diary entry for the week of April 14th through the 20th. Today is Saturday, April 20th. So this week was more of the same old, same old. Work is still not in the flow. We're still having a lot of issues with the new system, but eventually everything will get taken care of. I'll talk to you more about that towards the end. My reading is still not doing great. I ended up DNFing another book this past week. And so at this point, I don't know how my Orilium magical readathon is progressing. And so that's giving me a little bit of cause for unhappiness. I did monogamously work on a knitting project this week, so I'll share that with you in my Yarnie update section. And then I think that's pretty much all I have to share with you for this episode. So let's get into it with what I have finished reading since I talked to you last. So our Monochrome Manga Club meeting was this past week, and so I did finish our Monochrome Manga Club selections. So as per usual, I will not be talking to you about the Volume 1 selections here because I did just finish filming a Monochrome Manga Club series First Impressions video, which will actually be delayed this month because my volume by volume podcast episode has been delayed severely. And so we're going to do that one first. The First Impressions video should be up next week, and then we'll do the volume by volume for the current selections the week after that. So yeah, work has just pushed everything out of whack. But anyway, I just started talking about Akko and Bambi in the previous video that I recorded. So I'll give you all my thoughts on this one by Hiro, published by Yen Press, rated teen. I ended up giving this one a 3.5 star. This is like a slice of life supernatural story. And then Volume 1 of Bocchi the Rock by Hamazi. This one is published by Yen Press, rated teen. So this is about a girl who has severe social anxiety and picks up playing the guitar to try to make herself popular so people come to her instead of her having to go to them. And then she gets kind of wrapped into a rock band. And so I ended up giving this one 3 stars. But I'll give you more of my thoughts on these in the Monochrome Manga Club series First Impressions video, which should be out next week. So if you'd like to hear what I thought on those, definitely check that video out. But I will talk to you about our series reads here. So we'll start with volumes 3 and 4 of Delicious in Dungeon by Ryoko. This one published by Yen Press, rated teen. So this one's volume 3 and this one's volume 4. I am enjoying this series a lot more now than I was in volume 1. So I'm really, really glad that we did read this one for club, because I think if I had just read the first volume of Delicious in Dungeon, I probably wouldn't have continued. But in this series, we're following a group of adventurers who are navigating a dungeon, trying to take out the magical sorcerer who has kind of placed a curse on the dungeon, and there's a big prize for the people who actually take out this sorcerer. And so you've got lots of teams of adventurers in these dungeons. And in this series, we're following a specific team, which are the people who are featured on the covers here. And they are, at the beginning of the series, very broke. And they don't have enough money to buy provisions. So they decide, hey, in order to sustain ourselves, why don't we just eat the demons and monsters that are in the dungeon? And so we follow them on their culinary adventure, learning how to cook and prepare and eat some of these monsters, figuring out which ones are edible, which ones aren't, and things like that. Obviously, they come up against several monsters. I think there was a kraken in this one. And it kind of shows you on the back. Giant frog, giant kraken, an undine, a fishman, a mermaid. And then you've got a red dragon here. Something happens with the red dragon in volume 1. And the red dragon actually takes one of our character's sisters. So it's this guy here, Laios. His sister gets taken by the red dragon. So their first mission is to try to save her. And so I really, really enjoyed these volumes. They eat more, I would say, kind of more normal types of foods, even if they're like monsters. It's definitely like meats that they're eating here, as opposed to like the second volume or the first volume, where they were kind of eating strange things that aren't things that you would think are like edible. And so I think part of that kind of really threw me off. If we had started with just eating like meaty things, you know, like the Kraken. I mean, it's pretty close to something that we would eat in real life, like a squid or whatever, an octopus. Definitely something a little bit more relatable as far as like food type items, right? And then, of course, in these volumes, they find out that some things can make you sick. And so it's just really, really interesting. It's enjoyable. It's like just following this group of characters as they go on their adventures. I'm really enjoying our cast. One of the characters that really had gotten on my nerves at the beginning of this series is I'm warming up to them. And they're kind of having some character development, which I'm really enjoying. And so, yes, really enjoying this at this moment. I'm looking forward to the next couple volumes and seeing what's going to happen with them. We are not currently recording volume by volume podcast episodes for this series. And I don't know if we are. I don't know if there would be any interest for it, because I feel like there's not a lot to discuss about what happens in these volumes. But we are considering like maybe watching the corresponding episodes to the volumes and then talking about the volumes versus the anime episodes and doing some volume by volume podcasts about that. If you might be interested in something like that, definitely let us know down in the comments below. I do record the volume by volume podcast with my daughter. And so it's just like a conversation between me and her about our thoughts on what happens in the volumes and things like that. And so it's a spoilery podcast. So if you don't want to be spoiled, it's definitely not something you want to listen to unless you're like not interested in reading the series that we're talking about at all and just like hearing our general takes on it. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this series right now, and I'm glad that we persevered with it with the manga club, because like I said, if I had just read volume 1, I probably would have dropped it. And at this point, I'm really enjoying these characters. And so that's volumes 3 and 4. And then, like I said, we read volumes 7 and 8 of Assassination Classroom. My daughter and I have not yet recorded the podcast episode, but I will say that I am really enjoying our read-through of this series. I'm still remembering a lot of things that happened as far as where I watched up to in the anime. Like I said before, I never finished the anime. But there are still some things in there that I'm not quite remembering. So it's really nice to like read through and revisit scenes that I remember and scenes that I didn't quite remember, and just seeing how our characters are growing and learning and all the experiences that they're having. I'm really, really enjoying our read through of these volumes. And so I gave both volumes of Delicious in Dungeon 4 stars, and I gave both volumes of Assassination Classroom 4 stars as well. Really, really enjoying both of our series read-throughs. And so that's everything that I've completed this week. Now, like I said at the beginning, I did DNF a book. I decided to DNF The Haunted Mansion, Smoke and Shade. I think that's what it's called. Storm and Shade. Storm and Shade by Claudia Gray. So this book is kind of, the summary kind of makes it seem like we have this girl who goes to this new area. Her family moves into a new town, and she has to save like the ghosts within the haunted mansion, right? It gives you all of those like key phrases. The 999 ghosts in the mansion, and you know, things like that. I really don't feel like at this point where I am that the summary is truthful. So we do follow a girl who ends up moving into a new town. She has a hard time making friends, but she does end up making these two friends. She goes to a school where they have to wear uniforms, and their uniforms are like purple and lime green plaid. The school is called Gracie Academy, I think, or something like that. And obviously that's a reference to the mansion's owner, who are the Gracies, if you're familiar with that, right? But she ends up seeing this like mansion out in the distance and gets curious about it and ends up going to like check it out. And I kind of feel like this story is not very Haunted Mansion-esque. So it focuses a lot on our main character and her anxiety and what she's doing to try to overcome her anxiousness. She does go to therapy, so you see a lot of scenes where she's in therapy sessions and talking out her issues. But then she's also got this thing where she's gone into this mansion and she has questions about it, and she's having some strange experiences that are unexplainable, but she has nobody to talk to about them because with her anxiety and everything, they're just going to think she's even more unstable. And so it's not what I was hoping. When the title says it's Haunted Mansion and a majority of the story is not revolving the Haunted Mansion, that's deceitful to me. Plus, there's a lot of teen drama in this book. She has a boyfriend that lives in her previous town, and the town is too far away for him to come visit all the time. But he has said some stuff to her that I don't think is healthy. Not something a supportive, nice boyfriend should be saying to her. And then there's some drama over the fact that her friends are like pointing this stuff out to her and she gets mad at them. And so there's drama, they're fighting. And then we have scenes like with her boyfriend and she's talking to him and he's saying stuff that is not nice. And she just chalks it up to, oh, he's had a rough day or, you know, things like that. And I'm just like, I don't want to read about this. You guys all know that I can't stand a lot of drama, especially teen drama. And it's just not what I was expecting out of this book. I ended up DNFing this book at about 55%. I just kept listening to it and thinking it's going to get better. We're finally going to get more Haunted Mansion. We did get little, like, droplets. So there's mention of, like I said in the previous video, last week's diary entry, that there was a mention of a room with no windows. And so that kind of alludes to the stretching room, at least for me. There was a description of the wallpaper, which was very accurate. But there was not really any mention of any specific characters up to where I had read last week. So this week there was mention of Madame Leota, there was mention of the hitchhiking ghosts. But it's just like mentions of them. This story is not about the Haunted Mansion. This story is about our main character and her anxiety and how moving into this new town has kind of triggered some of those anxious episodes and how her interaction with the Haunted Mansion is making it difficult for her. At least that's how I'm kind of interpreting what's going on. And it's very much a more contemporary type story with lots of teen drama, and I'm just not in it for that. What I really wanted was something like she finally goes into the Haunted Mansion, you know, and then she like maybe gets stuck there and has to like find a way to help all of these ghosts or whatever. or she's like constantly maybe visiting the haunted mansion to try to help them out. And I don't really feel like there has been a narrative saying that the ghosts in the mansion are in danger. And so, yeah. I think what I really want, though, is for like a teen ghost hunting team to like go into the haunted mansion and do like an investigation. I think that would be really fun, where the haunted mansion is the main like setting for the entire story, and then we get our little paranormal investigators and them like figuring out things. And I think for the most part, like the haunted mansion movies that have come out, like the one with Eddie Murphy, the newest one with Danny DeVito and Owen Wilson, like they're very focused within the haunted mansion, and you get all of those really memorable character name drops, and there's connections that any fan of the rides would make. And I feel like for a book that says the haunted mansion on it, I was really, really let down. I think that's kind of the vibe that I was hoping it was going to be. It was going to be more like the movies, where the haunted mansion is the main focal point of the story. And with this book, it's not. And so I did decide to go ahead and DNF it at 55%. I am very disappointed. Very disappointed. And again, I don't know if it's just the way I'm feeling about reading at the moment that's really affecting my enjoyment, but I just lost patience. I lost patience with this book. I think I would have normally just like listened to it out. Because I was listening to it, it probably would have only taken me a couple more days to finish. But I just had it with the book that day, and I couldn't take any more. There was too much teen drama. I was really, just really frustrated. And so, yeah, I had started reading that one because it was supposed to be my color wheel pick for the Orilium Magical Readathon. And so that left me having to find something else for that. So, you know, earlier in the month, I had DNF'd my Zodiac recommendation, right? And so we're going to get into what I'm currently reading now. So I decided to go back and try to do my Zodiac recommendation again. As I mentioned before, I did find another Zodiac recommendation. Stephanie from Stephanie's Bookverse had done some Zodiac recommendations for Virgos a couple of years ago. I will link that video down in the description box below in case you're interested. But in this video, she had recommended A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. This is the first book in the Court of Thorns and Roses series, and it is a series that I have been meaning to read for a while. In fact, if you have been with me from the very early days of my channel, you know that I had actually borrowed the book from the library when it had first come out. I never read it. But now that I have read Crescent City, or at least the first book in the Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood, I have been hearing people say that you really should read the Court of Thorns and Roses series first, because there are connections that you might be missing if you read through the Crescent City series without having all of that knowledge. And so I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and try that one out and see if it's going to be for me. This series has lots of hype on it. Lots of people enjoy it. There was a lot of like fan merch and stuff. Like I know a lot of the yarn dyers, indie yarn dyers that I have watched and purchased from do collections on this series. Lots of the knitters that I watch have read this series or are currently reading the series. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. And so I decided to borrow an audiobook from the library. I am 17% in to this book. I'm on chapter 12. So far, I'm enjoying it. This is a kind of Beauty and the Beast retelling. We're following a girl named Farah, whose family is very impoverished, and her father is too old and week to work, and she has 2 younger sisters that are very frivolous. But she's kind of the person that takes care of her family. It's kind of like how Katniss starts off at the beginning of the Hunger Games, where she, goes out and hunts to make money or bring food back for the family. And so that's what Feyre's doing at the beginning of this book. She goes out into the forest and she sees this really large wolf and thinks, oh my gosh, that's going to, be lots of food and income for my family, and she kills it. Well, that wolf is a high fae that was transformed into a wolf, and there are punishments for killing high fae. One of them is death, and the other is to come live with the high fae in their city or area. I'm not quite sure about that, but she is offered the opportunity to save her own life and go and live with the fae. And so that's what she does. And so right at this point, she's kind of testing her boundaries, seeing if she might be able to get back to her family, because she's really concerned about them being the person that had been the sole provider. And so, yeah, she's in this world of high fae. She's kind of learning about them and their abilities, and just kind of figuring things out. And it's interesting to me. I'm enjoying it. It's much more enjoyable to me than listening to the Haunted Mansion book or reading one by one. So that's good. So I'm going to go ahead and continue with that one over the next week as my Zodiac recommendation. And then after I finished the Monochrome Manga Club selections, I went back to my blurbed by an author for your last 5-star read. And so I went back to Dark Prince. This is the copy that I have. This is what's called the Author's Cut Special Edition. So this edition has 100 extra pages that were not previously included when the book was first published in, I think it said 1999. And so I'm not quite sure what those extra 100 pages are. I'm kind of thinking it's somewhere in the beginning, because I feel like a lot of stuff that happened in the beginning could have been excluded. But I am currently on chapter 14, page 305, so I am here. So far, it's okay. It's paranormal romance. A lot more romance than anything up until this point. However, we have gotten to the point where that whole murder mystery thing and trying to figure out who's killing the Carpathians is in full swing at this moment. So there was a really high emotion, high action fight between these people and the Carpathians just a few chapters ago, and things are happening. And so I'm enjoying it more at this point than I was last week. I still feel like there's a ton of stuff that could be taken out, because I feel like there are way too much sexy times going on. And that for me is taking away from the story, because I'm skipping through all of those passages. And I must have skipped through at least 100 pages of that stuff. Just up until the point where I am now. So that's kind of why I'm thinking those extra 100 pages had to all have been sexy times. But so far, it's okay. I am still enjoying this more than One by One and Haunted Mansion. So the whole fight between the Carpathians and the humans for trying to take them out was really good. It was really high, tension. And there's still more of them out there, and so there's a chance for another one of those big fights. I feel like once we get past this first book in the series, that there should be more opportunity for story, whereas I feel this first book really focuses a lot on our couple getting together and laying down the whole Carpathian race and how their race works as far as hierarchy and and mating and all of that, and how the Carpathian race is in decline because they have no females. And so I feel like after we get past this one, there should be a lot more stuff happening as far as things other than romance. But I don't know. I don't know if like the next book will follow our characters here, like Mikhail and her name is Raven. I presume that we're going to see them. I mean, because he's supposed to be the prince of their clan here. We were introduced to a lot more of the people who are under him with the whole fight scene that had happened a few chapters ago. And right where I am, we just got a little bit more info about one of the other characters who is kind of like the second in command to Mikhail, who's the prince, I guess, prince of this Carpathian group. And so, yeah, I find all of that interesting because a lot of them have had really long lives. And so they kind of touch on like what they've done up until this point, how long they've lived and the things that they've lived through and things like that, and how, you know, some of them still don't have life mates. I mean, up until this point, Mikhail hadn't found his life mate until he met Raven. And we have a couple other characters in his clan that are still at that point where they haven't found their life mate. And the lore is in this series that if you haven't found your life mate, the longer that it takes, the more chances that you could go crazy and become a vampire and a killing machine and basically a bloodthirsty animal. And so, yeah, I'm enjoying finding out about all of the other people. At this point, I'm over like the whole relationship thing between Mikhail and Raven. But I'm kind of looking forward to having at least one more fight between this group of people who are trying to take out this race and the Carpathians. So, yeah, I've got, I think, 100 more pages. No, more than 100. I've got almost 200 pages left in this book. But it's going pretty quick, especially because I'm skipping over a lot, which I don't feel is really necessary to the storyline. And so, yeah, I should be done with this one by the time I talk to you next. And so that's all that I am currently reading at this point. They're both paranormal romance stories, which I was a little bit concerned about because I normally don't read the same types of books together. I'll usually try to read something different. But with everything that's going on with my Orilium Magical Readathon reads, it was unavoidable. And so, yeah, I am having a hard time. I don't know what is going on with my reading, but my reading lately has not been stellar. And I know that I have at least 2 books that I am anticipating that are coming out supposedly at the end of this month and I think towards the end of next month. And I'm really, really concerned that those books that I'm looking forward to are going to suffer from the way that I'm feeling right now about my reads. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's stress from work. I don't know if just things that I thought I enjoyed, I actually don't anymore, which would be very sad because if I don't know what I'm going to like, then how am I supposed to pick my reads? I just don't know what's going on, and it's very confusing for me. And so, yeah, it's also very disappointing because I was super hyped for that Haunted Mansion book. I thought, oh my goodness, this is going to be like the greatest thing, and then it ended up being such a letdown for me, and I don't know, it just put a damper on everything for me. So I'm hoping that at least by the end of this month, I'll find something like interesting. Like I am having 4-star reads. I told you my Delicious in Dungeon and Assassination Classroom, 4 stars, right? But I normally don't have issue with manga reading. It's the novels. My novel reading is not getting good ratings for me, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm participating in too many readathons. Maybe I just need to not have any kind of prompts or anything to guide me anymore. Maybe I just need to take a month and free read. Just read whatever I feel like instead of letting prompts guide me. Maybe that's just what needs to happen in May. So, I don't know. I am at this point pretty much stuck because of the Orilium Magical Readathon, and I really want to get all of that stuff done. But maybe in May, I'll just take a month where I just read whatever I want to read and not have to worry about any prompts or readathons, and see if maybe I can turn around my feelings on my reads lately. I know there are a lot of things that I do want to read. Like, there are series that I want to read. There are series that I want to reread. There are quite a lot of series I want to reread, actually. And so maybe I just need to go to that. But yeah, as of right now, I'm still working on my Orilium Magical Readathon stuff. I definitely want to try to complete that because I enjoy this readathon. This readathon is one of the ones that I'm really hyped for every year, and we do this 2 times a year, and it usually is something that increases my reading throughout the month. I get really spirited about it. I get really amped up and just read, but that's not how it is for me this year. I think a lot of it has to do with all of the stuff that's going on at work and just me, putting in those extra hours and things. But I think it's also the selections that I have chosen for myself, not vibing with what I'm feeling like at the moment, maybe, and my changing tastes, maybe, but I don't know for sure. And so that's always kind of hard, because if you don't know for sure what's causing an enjoyment of something or things like that, how are you supposed to fix it? And so that's kind of just what I'm dealing with right now. As for right now, the 2 books that I'm currently reading, I am enjoying. I don't think they're going to be 5-star reads by any means, but they are definitely better than the reads that I have had earlier this month, and definitely better than the 2 that I DNF'd that I'm replacing them with. And so, yes, that's where I am with my reads. And so let's get into another Yarnie update. And so I've been monogamous again and working on my mom's harvest. And so yesterday I took a pretty chill, relaxing day and just knit and watched a TV show. And so I put on the Pride and Prejudice, the BBC version with Colin Firth on, and I just watched that and I knit. And so this is where we are with my mom's harvest. So again, a harvest by TinCanKnits. I am working this in Lion Brand Pound of Love yarn. So we have this dark charcoal color, and we have what they call Oxford Grey. And so this is the front. I have finished the front panel. So this is where I was the last time I talked to you. So I finished off the bottom and I bound off. And then I have finished the first sleeve. So this sleeve, I actually had to make the cuff a little bit shorter. The cuff is supposed to be 4 inches, but there was no way for me to make it 4 inches because the sleeve would have been way too long. So with the decreases, you can see that the last decrease is here, and the decrease row is actually the section includes 5 extra rows. I probably could have just started the cuff here instead, but that is not what I did. And so we have a small cuff. I think it looks okay. I mean, it's about the size of a regular cuff on a sweater or whatever. And so, yeah, no 4-inch cuff, but we've got like 1.5 inches instead. And so, yes, this is the correct length of sleeve that my mother requested. And so, yes, slightly longer than what I would make for myself, but she prefers the longer length sleeve. So I did finish that sleeve, and I have started on the second sleeve. So you can see that I haven't done much. I've done about 1 inch on the second sleeve. So we're going pretty well. I don't know that I have this done this weekend, but it's looking really good. So I am almost done. I am super excited, and it looks great. It looks great. I think it's going to be very wearable, and that is the only thing that I have worked on up until this point. And if you're curious about how much yarn I've used, this was the back panel of the sweater that I had previously started for my mom. And so I've got quite a bit left. I should be able to use just this part for the rest of the sleeve. If not, I do have this chunk left as well. So more than enough yarn, I think, to finish up that sleeve. And then I should have quite a bit more of this Oxford charcoal left. So I have this, and then I have this. So yeah, that's more than enough for just the cuff. And so yeah, very happy with this project. I'll eventually do a harvest for myself, but probably not anytime soon. This is definitely one of those projects that takes a lot of time. It's a lot of knitting. And even though it's like worsted weight, it's still a lot of knitting, you know? And I don't know. I've got inspirations to do other things, including lots of inspiration to do sweaters for my daughter, because I don't know. I've just been enjoying like doing projects for her. Plus, she wears a pretty small size. And so projects that I work on for her take a lot less time than a project I would make for myself or a project that I would make for my mom. And so, yeah, it definitely benefits when the person that you're making the garment for is small. But yeah, I'm finding a lot of enjoyment with, doing projects for other people at the moment. I'll eventually get back to my own projects. I know you know that I have the Mostly Ghostly still on the needles. I definitely want to finish that soon. And I have a love note for myself that's still on the needles. And so those are two projects that I'm definitely looking to hopefully finish this year, or at least be inspired to work on in the next few months. But I also have I think it's called a V-back tee, which I've been thinking about lately. And I do think that I'm going to frog that, because I'm not happy with how I was working my alternating of the yarns, and the fact that one of my skeins of that particular yarn is so very different from the other two that I don't think that particular project is the right project for that yarn. So I think I am going to frog that one back, but I definitely want to find a project to use the yarns for. So yeah, lots of things that I've been thinking about. There are a couple of projects that I kind of have on my mind to do. Like, I would love to do a couple of just like basic kind of t-shirt or blouse type wears for myself, because I enjoy wearing things like that, and I think they'd be nice like staple pieces to have. And yeah, just lots of things going through my mind at the moment, and just not enough time to do it. So eventually, everything will happen eventually. I'm enjoying working on the projects that I have at the moment. I'm enjoying my reads at the moment. So I guess it's a good place to leave off on for the week. Don't you think? So yeah, that's pretty much everything that I've been up to lately. Like I said, we watched Pride and Prejudice yesterday. That is like my favorite Pride and Prejudice. I much prefer it to the Keira Knightley movie. And it was the first time that my daughter had actually sat down and watched Pride and Prejudice with me. And she actually enjoyed it more than she thought she did, so I was very happy. Really, really enjoyed my rewatch of Pride and Prejudice. It's been several years, and I really enjoyed it. It was very enjoyable. And so, yes, that was fun. Like I said before, work is kind of the same old, same old. We're still working out a lot of issues with the changes and everything. I don't feel like these things are going to be ironed out before May. I really, really don't. And I have been putting in more hours still this past week, but I do feel like I'm in a better place. I feel like I'm catching up. Things are not quite as overwhelming as they were last week. So I think we're moving in the right direction. I do feel like we're going in the right direction. And I feel like maybe within a week or two, my workload and things should be back to normal. At least I'm hoping. And by then, it'll only be a couple of weeks until I go on vacation. And so I'm only going on a mini vacation, but a vacation is a vacation nonetheless. And so I'm really looking forward to getting some time off. And we do have some plans. I will not be sharing those with you until after the fact, but we do have some plans. So it's not going to be a relaxing vacation, but it should be very fun. And so I'm looking forward to it. And so that's pretty much all I have to share with you this week. Let me know down in the comments below what you've been up to. What have you been reading? Are you participating in the Magical Readathon? If so, let me know how many classes you've finished and what classes you have left to complete. If you had the Zodiac recommendation prompt, was that a successful prompt for you to complete? Were you able to find something that you enjoyed by using that prompt? I would really love to know, because I find that for that particular prompt, the people that I've talked to have all had issues either finding something to read or not enjoying the recommendation. And so I would love to know what your thoughts were on the Zodiac prompt. And if nothing else, and you'd just like to let me know that you were here, if you could leave me some kind of flower emoji down in the comments below, that would be greatly appreciated and would really help me out. And that will do it for me today. So I hope you're all doing great. I hope you're all safe and healthy. And until next time, take care and smile always. Bye.